insisted upon that our U.S. troops will not be entering Ukraine. But yesterday it was interesting. I want you to tell me what your thoughts were on Biden's reaction to a reporter that brought up sanctions and whether or not they were meant to deter Putin. And he said no, they were not meant to deter ever. And he got quite angry about that, despite the fact that White House officials have repeatedly insisted that that was the point of sanctions. I mean, what other point were sanctions meant for before the war?
Yeah, let's answer that in the context of him just speaking to the troops right now. He said they're the finest fighting force in the history of the world. That's totally true. But unfortunately, what the world sees, to answer his question, what does the world see when they look at us? They see the finest fighting force being led by a lamb and not being led by a lion. And if he's unwilling to even say, we were trying to deter Russia from entering the Ukraine, if we weren't trying to deter them, then what in the world were we doing? Were we just thinking about sanctions just for the fun of it? Just something to maybe piss Russia off a little bit, or China, who they were working with? It's absolutely nonsensical to put forward this idea that his administration wasn't trying to deter Ukraine. We all knew that it wasn't going to be effective because essentially what they were doing was the equivalent of sanctioning a farmer without sanctioning their crops. But they're unwilling to look at the reality of the situation and acknowledge their faults.
Yeah, and
let's see. Before I go on, call Yahbashin Yahusha, Shalom to the elect. And the real reason why these leaders are set up anyway. Let's go into this. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 17. Now, when I first seen this title, I thought about this precept right here, the lamb. They should make war with the lamb. Because they talking about Biden leading the U.S. as a lamb. It should be like a lion. Hey, Esau not like no damn lion. That's not their spirit. Let me go to this real quick. So it's not like no lion. Alright, it's in the book of Revelation, chapter 17, verse 14, it says, and it's talking about these kings, these leaders, so to speak, the ones that control these different militaries. It says, these shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is the Lord of lords and the King of kings, and they that are with him are called chosen and faithful, because the saints, when you read the scriptures, they're talking about 144,000, the saints, the elect, they actually going to be with the Lord. They actually going to get beamed up. When you hear the song, or when the saints go marching in, or highlight the bill, that number, that's what it's talking about right here. That's the greatest so-called military, if you want to say that, because they're going to actually go in the scriptures. I'm going to post some precepts to get to it. I just want to speak on it because, like I say, when I seen this, it made me think of this. Like, you know what? Whoever came up with this title, I guarantee they done read this, right? Talking about leading as a lamb. It should be like a lion. Anyway, verse 15 it says, and he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the horse sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked. Now, them other horns is actually talking about those other nations. Now, when you look it up, let me go to it. Let me see. Let's go to the EU. They actually added more nations to it, because it actually was just 10 at first. And they started adding to it to kind of try to throw it off, but it was already set up there. You know, other ones, they just small little branches, so to speak. Let me get that. Now you have these lists of different nations in the EU. Let's scroll down some more. Now it says 27. It says 27 members. So like I have a little bit of stuff on from these ashes from this incense. Bear with me. All right, there it goes. It's a little more clear. Now it says the European Union is a political and economic union of 27 member states that are located primarily in Europe. Now, one main place that had a lot of, dealings with the U.S. being formed was Great Britain. When you look up the history on that, it goes into it. But the other nations, they end up linking up though. And when they linked up, that's why they formed the EU. Although they've added extra ones with it. It all stems back to this, and that's what this precept is talking about. That's what this prophecy is talking about. It says in the 10 horns without sawest upon the beast, he shall hate the whore, which the whore is talking about Babylon, America. It says, and he shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. It says, for Yahweh have put in their hearts to fulfill his will. So, Creepy Joe, this motherfucker barely can stay awake. They give them orders out, all them orders really coming up from on high. And the scripture says, let thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Once them orders get arranged and ordained up in the spiritual realm, it play out down here on the earth. And I'm gonna get a precept. I was just talking to somebody about that too, going into that in a minute. Let me finish reading. And I says, and give the kingdom into the beast, until the words of Yahweh shall be fulfilled. This stuff is gonna be fulfilled. This ain't no myth. This ain't no, what you call it? Somebody was talking about this, talking about the book just being a bunch of fables put together and mysteries. Yeah, it's some mysteries in here. But what do the Most High do? It's the book of Colossians chapter 1. Let me see. Because there's some mysteries in it, but these mysteries only get revealed to certain people. That's the beauty in this. No matter how many times a person read this, or go over this, or try to study this, whatever scholar they call on, or rabbi, or whatever theological school they try to go to, if they got me to get that mystery, they're not going to get it. Now it's in the book of Colossians chapter 1. I'm going to start at verse 25. It says, whereof I am made a minister. I didn't make myself do this. I could have been doing something else. Other men that do this stuff, they ain't make themselves do this stuff. The Most High already set them up. It says in the scriptures, when you were formed in the womb, I knew thee. He already knew who was going to do it. He already knew who was going to be moving a certain way on the earth. Now it says, according to the dispensation of God, which is given to me for you, to fulfill the word of Yahweh, even the mystery which have been hidden from ages and from generations, because a lot of this stuff wasn't known. A lot of this information wasn't known 200 years ago. I mean, it was known to a degree, but it wasn't worldwide, so to speak. Because Esau knew who they had in captivity 200-300 years ago. But as the scriptures say, but now is made manifest to his saints. Now it says, to whom Yahweh will have made known what is the riches of the glory of this mystery among the Gentiles, which is Hamashiach in you, the hope of glory, when we preach, warn every man. Because that's all we really do is sort of warn people, get yourself together, because when the judgment takes place, we actually stir this up, which I'm going to make another video talking about it after this stuff. And once this stuff gets stirred up, these different nations, they actually don't really press them buttons. Life, as you know, going to change just like that. But it's going to be a build-up first. But it says, whom we preach, warning every man and teaching every man in all wisdom, that we may present every man perfect in Hamashiach Yahushua, whereunto I also labor, striving according to his working, which worketh in me mightily. Because this stuff, man, like I said, I could have been doing something else. Could have went and dealt with my woman or something, but I was like, you know what? I'm just going to sit down and actually go over this video, since I was thinking about it and it was in my mind. I ain't got to deal with her right now, I'll deal with her later. But, let me see. That's another precept I want to get. Go back into this land. this lamb word. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 7, verse 17. It says, "For the Lamb which is in the midst of the throne shall feed them and shall lead them into living fountains of water, and Yahweh shall wipe away all tears from their eyes." He's still not finna do none of this. It ain't not finna be no lamb. That's a hell of a comparison to try to throw on Creepy Joe anyway. The lamb we worry about is Yahweh shall return. Actually doing what these scriptures say. Give me 1 minute. There's a few different precepts I want to get. It's in the book of Revelation, chapter 6, verse 15. It says, better yet, I'm going to start at verse. Better, you know what? I'm gonna jump around on this one right here. I wasn't even finna get these precepts, but it's just popping out to me. That's in the book of Revelation, chapter 6, and verse 1. It says, "And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard, as it were the noise of thunder, one of the four beasts saying, Come and see. And I saw him, behold, a white horse. He that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer." We talk about the second seal. We talk about the war. It says, "And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, Come and see. There went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat therein to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword." Right now, Esau already got this great sword right now. And part of that great sword is just that technology, that technological advancement, the weapons, them being able to build rockets and make nukes. That's why it talks about war, right? It goes in the family. It says, "And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, Come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse. And he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see, thou hurt not the oil and the wine." Let's see, let me scroll down some more. Verse 7, it says, "And when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, Come and see. And I looked and beheld a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. A power was given to him over the four part of the earth to kill with the sword, and with hunger, and with death, and the beasts of the earth." Now look, there's another precept too that made me, it just popped in my mind. I want to pull this out. Now it's in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2. And I'm going to jump back in the book of Revelation, but I just want to get this. Now it says, book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, and verse 5. "Yeah, also because he transgresses by wine, he's a proud man, neither keepeth at home." Hey, this what Esau do. And when I say Esau, I mean these Edomites as a whole, because they all have the same spirit. They have the same nature, characteristics. Like how they try to label us and say we do this and do that. Well, Esau, this is what y'all do. Now it says, "He's a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied." These devils got all the access to all the resources, whether it be gold, oil, crops, water, technology. These devils even be trafficking people and they still could not be satisfied. That's why the Most High got it, moved them out of power. They got to get up out of it. God says, but gather unto him all nations, and heap up unto him all people. So can't nobody be like, oh, damn, that's a conspiracy theory. They don't be trafficking nobody. Yes, they do. Even the scripture say they heap up unto them all people. That's what they into. That's Esau. That's their characteristics. Now let me scroll down and get into some more. Let's see. Now this is the main point I want to get on this part. Verse 12 it says, back in the book of Revelation, chapter 6, it says, and I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. Why? Because the nukes go off and they drop, and that smoke go up. It's going to block out the sun, and it's going to make the sun look black. If you ever seen the sun, you know, if you ever been down south or whatever, and it's a big fire, a forest fire in the woods, it made the sun look a certain color and the moon look red. It says, and the moon became as blood, the stars of heaven fell into the earth as a fig tree cast of untimely figs, when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And heaven departed as a scroll. And they ain't talking about literal heaven, like the Most High just opened up heaven and stuck his hand out. It's talking about how the sky gonna look from that blast. It's gonna look like a scroll unrolling. But let me get an image of that. Just for example. We actually look at it, look like a scroll being rolled. Like you either roll the scroll together or unroll it. Hey, this in here, man. This ain't no fairy tale book. This book got history, got ways to conduct yourself, to live your life. Deal with your family, deal with money matters, deal with your women, deal with your brother. And prophecy in it. But let me read on some more. It says, and every mountain and island will move out of their places. That's why another precept says, the earth should reel to and fro like a drunkard. The reason why? Because once these drop, ain't just one of them just going to drop. They're going to be dropping left and right. Like the scripture say, all you that bend the bow, spare no arrows, shoot at them. They not going to spare no arrows. They're not going to spare no nukes. They ready to use them anyway. They ain't just build that for nothing. That's been built to actually been put to use. Or get put to use, so to speak. It says, and the kings of the earth, and the great man, the rich man, and the chief captains, and the mighty man, and every bondman, every free man hid themselves in the dens, and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains, and the rocks falling as a house from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. Man, don't nobody want to see that lamb. When that lamb show, man, ain't gonna be looking too good, man. Let me see. Now, hey, I can find humor in this. Certain men can really find humor in this because our faith is different. We've been running around doing a bunch of nonsense. We've actually been getting prepared. Trying to clean ourselves up so when the Lamb come, he don't look at us as being unclean and deliver us. Now, this is the book of Isaiah. Let's see. Book of Isaiah, chapter 24. Start at verse 20. Now it says, the earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, like I just mentioned. It says, it shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again. In verse 21 it says, and it shall come to pass that in that day, that the Lord shall punish the hosts of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth. So Esau got to pay you. All that shit they be talking about of the slavery happened, and, you know, we don't try to get reparations and all that. No. They can keep that shit. The U.S. dollar ain't about too much anyway. It sound good though, you know. Oh yeah, we get reparations, get some land, get a little money. Man, they can't even afford to pay this tab that they don't gather. The scripture said the sins of Babylon are reached up to the heavens. They can't afford to pay that tab, but the Most High gonna make them pay anyway. In verse 22, it says, and they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit, and shall be shut up in the prison, and after many days shall be visited. Now, who gonna gather them up in the pit? Let's go to this. Because all of them not gonna die. Like Esau like to make these little videos talking about the end of the world and the earth gonna end. If a nuclear war was to break out, that'll be the end of mankind and civilization. No, that's not gonna happen. Let's see. Look at a few precepts real quick. Get these few precepts and I'll end this off. I don't want to stretch it out too long. It's the book of Isaiah chapter 26 and verse 20. It says, come, my people, into thy chambers, and shut thy doors about thee. Hide thyself, as it were, for a little moment, until the indignation be overpassed. And those chambers, what they talking about? Let's get this precept talking about. This is the book of Mark, chapter 13, verse 27. Better yet, let me start at verse 26. But you know what? Let me jump down to verse 24. It says, but in those days, after that tribulation, the sun should be darkened and the moon should not give a light. Why? Because them nukes gonna go off and there's gonna be so much smoke in the sky. You ain't really gonna be able to see nothing like that. They call it a nuclear fallout or nuclear winter. Now it says, and the stars of heaven shall fall, and the powers that are in heaven shall be shaken. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of great power and glory. And see, this right here, this is a mystery to people. This is like a myth. They feel like this ain't never gonna happen, or this can't never happen. But people always talking about getting blessings, getting little small ass blessings, but they don't think this can happen though. Now verse 27 it says, and then shall he send his angels and shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from the uttermost part of the earth to the uttermost part of heaven. So while this actually is happening, this event, this war, so to speak, take place, the elect gonna be gathered up. And simultaneously, when you go to 2nd Ezra, which I'm not going to get right now, like I said, I want to try to shorten this video up a little bit. Go to 2nd Ezra, just talk about them making war with the man that's set up on top of that ship. It look like a mountain. Because they going to look and be, hold up, we fighting each other, then hey, they going to be scared though, but like the scripture says, there's fight. They going to fight anyway. So let me see. What else I want to get real quick? I was just thinking of something. Oh yeah, that's all I want to get. Back to this precept in the book of Isaiah, chapter 24. And let's see, scroll down. Verse 22, and it says, and they shall be gathered together, because like I say, like the scripture says, well, everybody not gonna perish from it. Ain't no earth gonna end and that's it. Animals gonna just be roaming around. But you're gonna have some of these elites, the ones that make it so-called kings, so-called governors or whatever, that hide out. The ones that got those tickets to them space hotels and them bunkers and all that. The ones that's left over. Hey, somebody gotta serve out that sentence, man. Like the scripture say, those who leave into captivity shall go into captivity. Those who kill with the sword, those who kill with the sword, here's the patience and the faith of the saints. Somebody gotta live that out. So they gonna live it out. They gonna be the first ones While we going from rags to riches, they're going to be going from riches to rags. So it says, and they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in a pit. They shall be shut up in a prison. After many days shall be visited. Let me get this other precept. And I'm going to end this up. Because see, them damn devils, they not going to want to give up their riches and their resources. Even this little reparation stuff, they really not trying to get on reparations for real. For real. If that was the case, they'd go open up them gold vaults and go open up them other vaults where they got artifacts and stuff that actually really belong to us. Because we are our ancestors. It ain't just our ancestors stuff. We are our ancestors. Let me see. Look at this precept real quick. Like the scripture says, no new thing under the sun. We've been here before. Just another piece of flesh. Same spirit though. That's in the book of Daniel, chapter 7. Let me see if this is the actual one I want to get. I think it's another one. It's like right at the end. They talk about this numerous times here. Yep, it's two of them. Let me just get both of them. Now it says in the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 27, it says, "And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints." Who are the saints? The Israelites. People of Israel, Yasharim. It said, the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom. Which means the earth not going nowhere, because it does say under heaven, the whole heaven. And that means that people not going nowhere either. It says, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. Now let me go back to this other one, then I'll end this up. And you used to have people have an issue with that serving part too, because they feel like, oh, well, everybody, we just need to be one. That's bullshit. Who gonna make sure stuff in order? Because somebody ain't gonna be in order. We try to do that. We all one shit if you want. They tried that with the Tower of Babel. And what happened? Well, anyway, it's in the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 18. It says, "But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom, not go borrow it, not ask him to get reparations, not, oh, we need to sit down and have a meeting about it. No, they're going to take the kingdom. It says, and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever." And Esau noticed that's why they got the Space Force, because they know it's coming through space. Ain't no Space Force needed for nothing else. But from when Yahweh shall show back over the angels and gather up the elect, and the saints go marching in. So I just want to bring this out. I don't want to righteous out. This is edifying. And that's a video about the Lamb. Shalom to the elect.